One of the biggest mistakes that I see new online course instructors make is also incredibly easy to fix. And that mistake is most new instructors take their students on a journey without a clear goal. And this is a problem for two reasons. The first reason is, as an instructor, if you're creating a course without a clear goal in mind, then most likely your course is going to be disorganized. And students hate disorganized courses. It makes it incredibly hard for the student to focus on what you're teaching. The second thing that's a problem is when your students take a course without a clear goal in mind, they don't know where they're headed. And when students don't know where they're headed, they have no way of measuring how much progress they're making. The good news is there's a very easy solution to this problem, and that is to create one very clear and specific outcome that your student is going to accomplish by the time they finish your course. I've been teaching online courses for over 3 years, and I've created a very quick way to create effective course objectives. I'm going to share with you the 3-gate test, which is the method that I've created to quickly create effective course objectives. And the way this method works is you want to ask yourself 3 questions about a potential course objective. And if you could answer yes to all 3 of these questions, then it means it's a great objective and you can start building your course around it. But if, on the other hand, I answer no to any of these 3 questions, then I'll immediately scrap that course objective and come up with a new one. Number 1, is the course objective specific? And a bad example of this would be learn how to become an expert in Photoshop. As you can see in that example, it doesn't promise any specific outcome that your student's going to get by the time they finish your course. A much better example would be learn how to retouch portrait photos in Photoshop. The second question that I'll ask is the course objective simple? And a bad example of this would be learn how to retouch portrait photos in Photoshop by removing blemishes and color grading. Sure, you might teach your students those 2 things in your course, but there's no need to include that extra detail into your course objective. Instead, just keep it as simple as possible. And the third question I'll ask myself is the objective not overpromising? And it's very important that we don't promise a certain outcome for our students that we're not going to deliver on. A bad example of this would be learn how to retouch portrait photos in Photoshop and become a well-paid Photoshop professional. Sure, your course is going to give them skills in Photoshop, but it's probably not going to make them instantly become a well-paid Photoshop professional. And if you promise an outcome for your students that you don't deliver on, they're going to be very upset and leave poor reviews for your course. I'm going to have you take time to write 5 of your own course objectives using the 3-gate test. At this point, I don't want you to worry about writing perfect course objectives that you're going to commit yourself to. Instead, I just want to get you to brainstorm some ideas and get used to this process of creating your own course objectives. Pause the video now and don't move on until you've written 5 different objectives. And to help you write these course objectives, use the 3 questions below from my 3-gate test. We're going to look at some good and bad examples of different course objectives. And we're going to start out by taking a look at some bad examples. And the first one is create an online course. And the problem with this one is, first of all, it's not specific enough. What exactly are we going to be learning about creating an online course? And the second is, I think this one overpromises. I doubt that one course is going to give you everything you need to know about creating your own online course. The next bad example is start a business and travel the world in 30 days. And just like the one before it, I think this one is not specific enough. Start a business, what does that even mean? What type of business? How are you going to be starting it? And on top of that, this one definitely overpromises. I can't imagine any single course giving you everything you need to know to not only start your own business, but to travel the world in a period of 30 days. The last bad example is learn the essentials of Illustrator and be able to create illustrations, graphs, logos, charts, and more. And the obvious one that's wrong with this one is it's not simple enough. Sure, you may learn illustrations, graphs, logos, and charts, but there's no need to make that part of the course objective, and it just makes it too complicated. And on top of that, even though it tells you all the things you're going to be able to create, I don't think it's specific enough. It's basically saying learn the essentials of Illustrator, and then you'll be able to make these things. But what exactly are the essentials of Illustrator?
What specifically are you going to be learning? Now let's take a look at some good examples. In all three of these examples, answer yes to all three of the questions we talked about earlier. The first one is build a BuzzFeed style blog on WordPress. It's very specific. You know exactly what you're going to be able to do by the time you finish that course. It's very simple, and it also doesn't overpromise. And if you take a look at the second and third example, it's the exact same thing. Take a professional looking image of a meal, or add 10 minutes of meditation to your daily routine.
I'm going to have you rewrite those 5 course objectives that you wrote earlier. And my hope here is after seeing those good and bad examples, that you'll have some more ideas about how you can improve upon those course objectives you wrote earlier.
Pause the video now and don't move on until you've rewritten those 5 objectives that you wrote earlier. And to help you with this process, keep in mind those 3 questions that we've been thinking about throughout this course.
We're going to decide on one of the course objectives that you wrote and have you commit yourself to creating your own online course around that one objective. And take as much time as you need here. I want you to really think about which course objective do you like the most that you could really see yourself building a great online course around.
Pause this video now and don't move forward until you've committed yourself to one of those course objectives that you came up with earlier. That's it. You made it to the end. Congratulations. I wish you the best of luck as you begin creating your online course.